Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we are stepping right onto the floor to explore one of the world's most famous dances, the tango. Okay, let's dive right into this because while you might think tango is just tango, the reality is actually way more complex. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. We're going to break down the two wildly divergent paths this incredible dance has taken.
And that brings us to a question that trips up a lot of beginners. Which tango is the real tango? Is it those dramatic, sweeping steps you see on TV dance competitions, or is it the intimate, shifting movements found in a dimly lit social club? Well, our goal with this explainer is to take you on a little journey to discover not just the mechanics of both, but to help you figure out which style actually aligns with your own personality and goals. All right, Section 1. Two tangos, one origin. We're tracing the roots of a dance divided.
To really understand how these dances differ today, we have to look at where they started. Both Argentine and Ballroom Tango trace back to the exact same origin in tango's early social dance culture. They literally share the same DNA. But as the culture of dance expanded and formalized globally, they eventually split down two entirely different evolutionary paths. They took the exact same root elements and just prioritized completely different things. The evolutionary split is pretty stark when you look at it. On one hand, Argentina tango evolved to focus heavily on expressive improvisation. It's fluid, you know? On the other hand, ballroom tango became highly standardized for competition. One prioritizes this raw, in-the-moment experience, while the other prioritizes a highly polished, repeatable form. Moving on to Section 2, improvisation versus strict structure. Let's look at how each style interprets the music. You see, how each style handles structure is dictated directly by the music itself. Argentine tango uses a much wider range of recordings. The dancers are actively responding to subtle shifts in rhythm and phrasing within the music. It breathes. But over on the ballroom side, it requires a consistent tempo and a very specific arrangement. Why? Well, because it's designed to fit the strict expectations and precise timing required in a competitive setting. So the absolutely crucial point here is how that music translates to the structure of the dance. In Argentine tango, the structure is essentially built as you go. It is deeply improvised in the moment. The couples are constantly making real-time direction changes, they're adding spontaneous pauses, and hitting musical accents exactly as they feel them. It's incredibly dynamic, responsive, and totally unique to that specific moment in time. Now this creates a completely different reality for ballroom tango. Here, the structure is wonderfully predictable and strict. It relies on standardized patterns and sequences. Dancers execute repeatable figures, emphasizing a repeatable technique that remains consistent across different dancers. It's way less about spontaneous reaction and much more about perfecting a prescribed flowing structure.
Okay, Section 3, embrace, posture, and footwork. Let's get into the physical mechanics.
Mechanically, the whole shebang starts with the embrace. This is the physical connection, the framing, and the posture held between the two dance partners. If you want to understand the mechanical split between these two tangos, the embrace is the absolute foundation that physically separates them. The Argentine embrace is flexible and shifting. It allows partners to actively negotiate different types of walking and variations as they improvise. Meanwhile, the ballroom frame is completely uniform. It's built to stay consistent from all angles. And there's a practical reason for this. A uniform frame supports the smooth, large, traveling movements that need to look flawless to judges positioned all around a massive competition floor. Because the embrace is so different, the footwork naturally follows suit. Argentine footwork is characterized by sharp, rhythmic steps. The movement is super grounded, with body-led weight changes. There's also this fascinating physical detail here. Argentine tango frequently features moments of gapping, which is this beautiful sense of suspended balance right between movements. It gives the dance a highly responsive, grounded tension. Conversely, ballroom footwork is vast and expansive. Instead of sharp, grounded steps, you have a sweeping rise and fall. The dancers prioritize longer visual lines and highly controlled extensions. The technique focuses on incredibly clean direction changes. Again, this movement is meticulously designed so the action reads clearly and powerfully from a distant judging position. It's all about outward projection. Section 4, intimate connection versus spectacle. Let's talk about the atmosphere and goals of the community. Beyond just the steps, these styles foster incredibly different environments. If you step into an Argentine tango class,
The focus of the community is highly practical and socially driven. They teach social navigation, literally how to manage space and avoid collisions on the gloriously chaotic, crowded floor of a social dance. There's a massive emphasis on intimately responding to leader and follower cues and learning how to decorate your movement to specifically match the feel of the orchestra that's playing. It's all about internal partner communication. Now contrast that with the atmosphere in a ballroom coaching session. The community focus here is laser-targeted on technique alignment and strictly standardized timing. It's about performing figures with absolute consistency, preparing the dancer to execute flawlessly under the intense, occasionally terrifying scrutiny of competition judges. It's less about social navigation and way more about geometric perfection. This atmospheric dichotomy is perfectly summarized by this one thought. Argentine tango is conversational and intimate, even when you're dancing on a large, crowded floor. Ballroom tango, however, is theatrical and formal. It's a spectacular performance meant to be observed. Section 5. Which tango fits you? We have reached the ultimate crossroads. Now that we've mapped out the paths, it's time to find your fit. When we put these side by side, we see two totally different worlds. Looking at the Argentine treats, you see a world that is social, adaptable, improvisational, and deeply connected through a flexible posture. If that sounds like home to you, that's your path. But if you're drawn to competitive drive, choreographed precision, exact alignment, and sweeping uniform movement, then ballroom offers you a very clear, structured path to success. Here's the thing, both styles, at their core, highly reward a commitment to musicality and partner awareness. So the absolute fastest way to find your true fit is just to try both. Take a beginner lesson in Argentine, take one in ballroom, and then honestly compare how your partnership feels on the floor in those two very different environments. Because ultimately, it all comes down to this one profound question. How does the music speak through your body? Does it ask you to improvise and converse in the moment, or does it ask you to sweep across the floor with structured, theatrical precision? Think about that, get out there on the dance floor, and find out for yourself. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.